When the final whistle ended the 2026 World Cup, millions expected heartbreak. What almost nobody expected was the controversy that followed. Spain had just secured a hard-fought 1-0 victory after extra time, celebrating one of the biggest achievements in football, while Argentina stood frozen, watching another team lift the trophy they had dreamed about for years. But within moments, attention shifted away from the football itself. Instead of discussing Spain's winning goal or the incredible tournament both nations had played, social media exploded with clips showing emotional confrontations between players and staff after the match. Those images spread across the world in minutes, creating one of the most talked about moments of the tournament. Several members of Argentina's squad and coaching staff were reported to have become involved in heated exchanges after the final whistle. FIFA later confirmed it had opened disciplinary proceedings to review what happened, and football fans everywhere immediately began debating who was responsible and what consequences, if any, should follow. As emotions continued to rise online, criticism aimed at Argentina became impossible to ignore. Some fans argued the team's emotions simply boiled over after suffering a heartbreaking defeat. Others believed the post-match scenes crossed a line that should never be crossed on football's biggest stage. The debate quickly became bigger than one match. It became a conversation about sportsmanship, leadership, and responsibility. And right in the middle of that conversation stood one man, Lionel Messi. Curiously, Messi was not one of the players at the center of the reported incidents. Television cameras showed him congratulating Spanish players, shaking hands, and quietly leaving the field. Unlike others, he wasn't seen participating in the heated exchanges that later dominated headlines. That reaction immediately divided opinion. To many supporters, Messi showed exactly what a captain should show after a painful defeat: respect for the champions, composure under pressure, and acceptance that football sometimes ends in disappointment. Others saw the same moments very differently. Some critics questioned whether Argentina's captain should have done more, not by joining the confrontation, but by publicly standing beside teammates who were suddenly facing enormous criticism from around the world. It's an interesting question because leadership isn't only measured when everything is going well. Winning makes leadership look easy. Lifting trophies is easy to celebrate. The difficult moments come when a team loses, emotions take over, and every camera in the world is watching your next move. For years, Messi has carried the expectations of an entire football nation. Every gesture he makes is analyzed. Every interview becomes news. Every word can influence millions of people. That means silence can also become part of the story. As discussions intensified, many fans hoped Messi would address the controversy directly. They expected him to comment on the emotional scenes after the final, speak about the investigation, or at least share his thoughts on what had happened between the two teams. Instead, his public comments focused mainly on the pain of losing such an important final. He thanked the supporters. He praised the effort of his teammates throughout the tournament. He spoke about the disappointment of falling just short. What he didn't do was become involved in the growing debate surrounding the post-match incidents. That choice sparked two completely different interpretations. Supporters argued Messi understood that the situation was already emotional enough. Any strong statement could have made headlines for days and potentially increased tensions even further. From that perspective, remaining calm may have been the most responsible decision available. Critics weren't convinced. Some believed a captain doesn't need to defend questionable behavior to support his teammates. They argued that he could have encouraged fairness, reminded people not to judge an entire squad by a few emotional moments, or simply asked everyone to allow the investigation to run its course before reaching conclusions. Those are very different messages. One defends actions, the other defends people. Many felt there was room for that distinction. Instead, football supporters around the world were left interpreting body language, handshakes, and silence rather than clear explanations. That uncertainty only fueled more discussion. As days passed, countless opinions appeared across television, newspapers, podcasts, and social media. Some praised Messi's maturity, calling his behavior an example of professionalism after a devastating loss. Others wondered whether football's biggest superstar had intentionally avoided becoming part of the controversy. Neither interpretation has ever been universally accepted, and that's exactly why the debate refuses to disappear. Sometimes what a player doesn't say becomes even more fascinating than what they actually do. Because when one of the greatest footballers in history chooses silence during one of the sport's most emotional moments, every fan begins filling in the blanks with their own interpretation. And that's where this story becomes even more complicated. The controversy continued growing because people weren't only discussing the confrontation anymore, they were discussing what leadership is supposed to look like when everything falls apart. For nearly 2 decades, Messi has been the face of Argentine football. Every triumph, every disappointment, and every unforgettable moment has been linked to his legacy. That's why many fans expected more than silence after the final. They weren't necessarily asking him to defend every action that happened after the whistle. They simply expected their captain to guide the conversation. Others strongly disagreed. They argued that true leadership sometimes means refusing to react emotionally. In their view, Messi recognized that FIFA's disciplinary process needed to happen without interference. Any passionate statement from the world's biggest football icon could have been interpreted as pressure on officials or as criticism of Spain during their moment of celebration. From that perspective, choosing restraint wasn't weakness, it was discipline. Still, critics continued asking difficult questions. If Messi believed his teammates had simply let emotions get the better of them, why not say exactly that? If he believed some reactions had crossed the line, why not encourage accountability, while also reminding the world that one difficult night shouldn't define an entire squad? And if he believed the criticism itself had become excessive, why not ask fans to avoid turning frustration into hostility? Those unanswered questions kept the debate alive. The reality is that football history is filled with moments where captains were judged less for their performances and more for how they responded after defeat. Sometimes a single interview becomes part of a player's legacy just as much as a winning goal. That's why every gesture Messi made after the final was examined in extraordinary detail. Some focused on the respect he showed Spain, others focused on the words he never spoke. Neither side could fully prove its interpretation, but both believed the evidence supported their view. One side saw dignity, the other saw distance. The discussion also highlighted something many people forget about elite athletes. Every decision carries a cost. Speaking publicly might have comforted some supporters while creating new headlines around the investigation. Remaining silent might have reduced immediate tension, but also left others wondering whether more leadership was needed. Either choice would have been criticized by someone. Perhaps that's what made this situation so unusual. There was no perfect response. Whatever Messi chose, millions of people were always going to interpret it through their own expectations of what a captain should be. As FIFA continued reviewing the reported incidents, football conversations gradually shifted away from what actually happened on the field. Instead of celebrating Spain's achievement or analyzing the tactical battle that decided the championship, much of the public discussion centered on emotions after the final whistle. That alone showed how quickly football narratives can change. One unforgettable match became 2 separate stories. The first story was Spain becoming world champions. The second was Argentina leaving under the shadow of controversy. And somewhere between those 2 stories stood Messi, saying very little while everyone else spoke for him. Supporters described his composure as the behavior of a player who understood that defeat should be accepted with grace. Critics argued that silence left too much room for speculation and allowed others to define Argentina's image without hearing directly from its captain. Both perspectives continue to exist because neither can be proven right or wrong. Leadership isn't always measured by statistics. It's often measured by perception, and perception changes depending on who's watching. For some fans, Messi protected the dignity of Argentine football by refusing to escalate an already emotional situation. For others, the moment represented a missed opportunity to unite a disappointed team and calm an increasingly divided football community. Only Messi truly knows why he chose the approach he did. Maybe he believed actions spoke louder than interviews. Maybe he wanted the investigation to proceed without public influence. Or maybe, after suffering one of the most painful defeats of his career, he simply wasn't ready to speak. Those possibilities remain exactly that, possibilities. What is certain is that the debate surrounding his response has become almost as memorable as the final itself. Years from now, fans will probably remember 2 completely different versions of that night. One version tells the story of a legendary captain who accepted defeat with humility, respected worthy champions, and refused to let emotions make a difficult situation even worse. The other remembers a captain who, in the eyes of some critics, could have done more to publicly support his teammates while still encouraging accountability and respect for the game. Whichever view people choose, one thing is undeniable. The 2026 World Cup final will be remembered for far more than the scoreline. It will be remembered for the conversations that followed, the questions that divided football fans across the world, and the different ways people define leadership under pressure. Now, the discussion belongs to football supporters everywhere. Do you believe Messi handled one of the toughest moments of his international career in the best way possible? Or do you think a captain's responsibility extends beyond the pitch, especially after a defeat that captured the attention of the entire football world? Share your opinion in the comments, and if you enjoy balanced football stories that explore the biggest moments beyond the headlines, don't forget to subscribe for more.